A few days ago, I caught glimpse of a movie, right? And it was just about 5 minutes of it. And a lady was apologizing to another lady, and she said to her, "Oh, I'm sorry for what I did to you." And the lady said, "Oh, no, it has nothing to do with you. I just feel like right now in my life, the universe itself is against me." And that got my attention, right? And it got me thinking about how sometimes, when things are going wrong, we tend to feel like the universe itself is working against us. And this usually happens when we make vital decisions in our lives, right? Especially for the better. Everything starts to work against that decision. See, an example is a man proposed to his girlfriend, right? They lived in different countries. So he wanted to move closer to the lady. So he went back to where he resided and went to pack up his things to move to where the lady lived. And when he returned, everything started to go wrong. He even started to have nightmares, everything to make him question his decision. But today, they're actually one of the best couples. It's one of the best decisions he ever made, And what I've noticed is this happens a lot when we experience a rebirth, irrespective of your religion. In the Christian religion, we call it being born again, right? So, which is when you give your life to Christ and you make a firm decision to change everything in your life for the better, right? To change your attitude, to change the things people, places, and things in your life for good. Everything starts to work against that decision you've made. Things will just start to happen. A good example is maybe unexpected expenses, and you'll hear that voice saying to you that if you hadn't given your life now, if you hadn't given your life to Christ and you're forming goody two shoes, you could have inflated that invoice for your company. That's how you used to make money before. So you could have just done that and you make the money and you sort out all the bills. But you only just gave your life about 2 weeks ago, so you can just do it one last time. Just do it one last time. You just became born again 2 weeks ago. What's the big deal? Just do it one last time. And that one last time is usually where you get caught up, right? Where you get in trouble. It's really a ploy to make you believe that you've made a mistake, you've made the wrong decision, and then go back into the world, right? But if you persevere, the results are usually very rewarding. And the reason this happens is because of who you are. When you make a decision to live right, to change your life around for the better, to become the best version of yourself, the enemy attacks because they don't want you to know the possibility of what you could become. They don't want you to know your power. They don't want you to know how great you can be. They are not fighting you. They are fighting your potential, your destiny. They want you to go back to being mediocre, to being a lesser version of yourself. So they attack you to keep you small. The greater the attacks, the bigger the destiny. I guess that's why the good book says, count it all joy when things are going wrong, because it's about understanding why it's occurring. Armed robbers don't go to empty houses. The afflictions you're facing is because you have something of value. Which is also why we should never judge or mock people in their downtime, because you don't understand their destiny. You don't understand why their afflictions may be greater than most people Job in the Christian religion, at a certain time, he lost everything. He lost his health, he lost his family, he lost his wealth, he lost everything. That the people around him thought he must have done something evil. They kept judging him, they kept mocking him. They thought he must have committed some sin for God to punish him that way. Who knew that God found him so valuable enough to use him for bragging rights? Who knew? 3 wise men saw a star, and when they saw it where no star was supposed to be, they believed it signified the birth of a very important person, a king perhaps. Bearing gifts, they then traced the star towards Jerusalem, because that was where they expected to find a king, not in Bethlehem, right? And on getting to Jerusalem, they met with King Herod, and they asked about the king, the supposed king that was born. So they told King Herod all about it. And King Herod said to them, well, if you do find his location, please let me know. I too would love to go and worship him. However, when King Herod heard this information, he was so bothered. Himself and all of Jerusalem, they were bothered. because King Herod had been appointed king of the Jews by the Roman Empire. So when he heard that the real king of the Jews had been born, his position was threatened. To understand why he felt so bothered, we need to go back to the root of the story. The wise men that paid King Herod a visit were Chaldean astrologers. These were people that looked to the heavens for signs and omens, right? So now they belong to a sect of wise men called the Magi's. That's where the current word magic was derived from. These Magi's are wise men that serve as advisors for kings and royals. During the time of Exodus, the king of Moab, King Balak, heard about how the Israelites had defeated the Amorites. And he became afraid, him and his people, when the Israelites had to pass through his country to get to their land of milk and honey. So they became afraid. So what he did was he commissioned a prophet named Balaam to curse the Israelites. Now, instead of cursing them, he blessed them instead, and he prophesied that in Israel a king would arise that would lead the Israelites to victory and bring judgment upon their enemies. Now, the Moabites will be part of those enemies, considering they're trying to curse the Israelites. Now, the thing is, Balaam was a Magi himself, even rumored to be the founder of it. And his prophecy must have been passed on because of who he is and how important he was. And people believed in them because, they were thought to be very wise men. So his prophecy must have been passed down onto generations, even until the time of Daniel, who served as a Magi himself to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, even though he refused to eat the meat sacrificed to gods, right? However, Daniel was one of the most respected advisors to the king. Now, so he happens to be a Magi himself. Now, he also prophesied about the birth of Jesus. So now both prophecies must have been linked together and passed down onto generations, even until the time of Jesus, which is why when the wise men saw the star, it must have been believed that the prophecy had finally come to pass. Now, what I'm saying is this: because of the importance of who Jesus was, King Herod ordered the unaliving of innocent children from 2 years below, hoping to take the life of Jesus in the process. Imagine the length the enemy went to destroy someone of great value. So if it seems like the universe itself is working against you and everything seems to be falling apart, count it all joy, because the bigger the afflictions, the greater the glory. Namaste.